Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Homeschool Minnesota. My name is Dale Anand. I'm so glad you guys are here with us today. You're going to love today's episode. You're going to walk away encouraged and blessed. And I love this episode, you guys. It's going to be so good. I love books that encourage, instruct, challenge. And the book that we're going to be talking about today is exactly that. It is just a wonderful, wonderful book. And it's called, this is it right here. Isn't it pretty? You guys, we're going to talk about that in a minute too. But it's called Dear Homeschool Mom. And it's written and put together and curated by Annette Vaughn. She put it all together. It's letters from homeschool moms all across America. We're going to get into it. It's so much fun. So it's basically American homeschooling 101 from all the different states, all kinds of moms from all different walks of life talking about their experiences. So I just want to welcome Annette Vaughn. Hi, Annette.
Hi, thank you so much for having me be with you today and get to spend a little time with your listeners.
Yeah, we got to talk. Okay, you guys, I maybe should just start recording these and putting them as like a short, but like the pre-podcast conversations that we have. Some of them are very entertaining, and this one was a good one because Annette and I think we connected like immediately. I don't know, kindred spirits. Like Anne Shirley, my favorite character of all of literature,
Same,
used to say.
same.
Really? See, I knew it. Yay, Anne Shirley. Okay, so that's a whole different podcast, y'all. So we'll just go there another day. But tell us a little bit about yourself and Annette, and welcome to Homeschool Minnesota.
Thank you so much. So my name's Annette Vaughn. I actually live in the state of Missouri, so a little bit south of you all, but hey, same time zone. I'm married. We have 3 boys. Their ages 15. I have to think of their ages right now. Who's had a birthday? 15, 13, and 12. We've been homeschooling since my oldest was in 2nd grade. Never thought I would be a homeschool mom, and here I am, homeschool mom, and have written a book for homeschool moms. So that's just how amazing that transformation has been. I absolutely love encouraging fellow homeschool moms, and so I like that we get to talk about that today.
I'm so excited to talk to you. First of all, 3 boys. I had 2 girls and a boy, so kudos to you, Annette. You should be writing a book about homeschooling. But
It's great. I love being a boy mom. In fact, and we're kind of like a boy magnet here because we do, fun activities in the summer. And just yesterday, for about 4 hours, I had 10 boys at my house. Because
Wow.
we're just not that we're the place to be, but we love, serving other families and having their kids over. And
Yeah.
so, bring them on. Once you have 3 boys, what's 10? It's still
That's how
loud.
I always felt. I have 3 kids. My husband and I are outnumbered completely already by one whole person. And so we might as well have a house full of teenagers or whatever we had always going on
I
in our
love it.
place.
I love
Yeah.
it.
It's just like, we've already got chaos. Let's bring it on. We can
That's
handle it.
right. That's right.
So first of all, I wanted to say again, isn't this pretty, you guys? I love this picture. To me, it's like everything peaceful, everything wonderful, the community of homeschooling moms, linking arms, shoulder to shoulder, back to back, encouraging each other. That's what this book is. But you told me an interesting story about the artist who did this. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yes, I would love to. So, first of all, if you're listening to just the audio,
Oh, yeah.
it's a beautiful watercolor picture, and it's 6 moms, each who look different. They're facing away, kind of like out to the horizon. Their arms are linked, arm in arm, and it's just beautiful. And it just says "Dear Homeschool Mom" across the front.
Yeah.
So look it up on Amazon, Dear Homeschool
It's
Mom book, if you want to see the
beautiful.
visual of it. But it was interesting. I am not artistic at all. And so when I was putting the cover together, I knew that I would need a professional person to help me with that. I hired someone in our local metropolitan area that does that for a living and is just super talented. And didn't know this at the time, but in the course of conversation of interviewing her and hiring her to do that for me, realized she was a homeschool graduate. And so I just love the drop of grace that God provided in that, because it is one of those covers that will just grab your attention and
Yeah.
capture your heart. And I love that because that's the essence and the feeling that I think I want the book to portray for us as homeschool moms that we're not alone. We're linking arms together, all of this. But I love the fact that the cover itself, that's so beautiful, was put together by
A
a
homeschool graduate.
homeschool grad.
I
So
love it.
fun.
So, when I saw this book and I got, it's like you can see yourself from the cover all the way through the book to the end. And so looking through it, I love the idea of bringing all these homeschool moms together from all different backgrounds, homeschooling stages, seasons of life, different states with different laws, expectations of homeschoolers, and yet they all are very cohesive. I think that's interesting. It's like, you think about it and it's like, how can all these different moms from all these different walks of life and all these different, demographics and all these different homeschool restrictions put on them by their different states, because every state is different. And yet when you pull it all together, it's not at all chaotic. It's actually very cohesive. And how did you curate these letters and decide what goes in the book? Did you have to kind of pick and choose? And how can it be so cohesive when so many contributors from so many different walks of life have written in it?
Oh, that's such a great question. And it's true. There's
Mhm.
moms who have written letters for it that have only been homeschooling a couple years. And there's other moms who have graduated 4 kids and
Yeah.
everything in between.
Yep.
Um, So it is essentially a collection of letters written to homeschool moms from homeschool moms, 15 chapters. Each chapter has, 3, 4 letters in it. And you're right. I think there is a cohesiveness to it because the common thread that goes through every single of the 50 plus moms who are in it is, we're followers of Jesus for one thing. So that's automatically uniting for us. But we share that common thread of feeling called to homeschool and
Mhm.
feeling called to do it regardless of our circumstances, or our scenarios might be different, or our struggles, our challenges may be different, but we feel called to do it. We believe in homeschooling. And so, as we talk through every different subject, each chapter and all the different subjects, different angles of homeschooling, that's the common thread that you see throughout. And I love the fact that you can take kind of a little peek through the window, if you will, into these different lives, these different moms, and like you said, different states, and just get a glimpse of what that's like for them, not for a comparison reason at all, but just simply to, be inspired of what has worked for them, what have they overcome.
Mhm.
Um, where are they at now? Because I'm in the same boat. I don't have my first graduate yet. I'm still in it. I'm still in the middle of it, with one high schooler and 2 middle schoolers. And so I love that, in the fact in the book too of just, these moms that are just real with where they are at in the moment. And most of us haven't arrived, if you
Yeah.
will, yet
Yeah.
with our final product.
Well, and I think it's true that because they're all, followers of Jesus, truth is truth. And it resonates because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and he doesn't worry about where you come from. Some of these moms have more money than other moms. Probably some of these moms have more money than you, so they can get some of the bells and whistles. Some of them are from states that do have school choice funding, and some are not. Most of them are not, actually. And so there's, and yet the advice really just pulls together in a very biblical, godly way. I think that's just so cool. And the thing that I also like about this book, which by the way, I want to say, we were talking beforehand. I was mentioning how I thought this is a great book for like a co-op to do. You know how most co-ops, not all of them, but most co-ops have like mom time. So like you're volunteering, certain hours of the day, but then you always have that 1 hour where you get to be together with a group of moms in the mom room, or in this, we called it the teacher's lounge when we were doing co-op. And they just got to go there, and there's like snacks, and sometimes there's just like conversation or whatever. This book would be really great to have, as like every mom buys one, and you just sit down, and then maybe you assign, each mom gets to choose like which section of the book that resonates with them that they would like to talk about during their mom time, and just kind of giving them the chance to kind of walk through, and everybody reads that section, and then they come back and they do the discussion, because at the end of each chapter you have like reflections, key takeaways, questions for digging deeper, starting conversations. Can you tell me a little bit about how these sections, because when I was looking through it, I'm like, some of them were challenging. Some of these sections were very challenging, and I'm not even homeschooling anymore, and I'm like, "Oh, but, that's actually something I could be working on in just my day-to-day life as a woman, as a grandma, as a mom of adult children, as a wife." What are some sections that challenged you and made you think a little bit deeper?
Well, like I said, there's 15 different chapters. Within each chapter, every letter is still different. But some of the chapters that really stand out to me are topics such as balancing it all,
Yeah.
succeeding at socialization, that hot button,
Yeah.
avoiding the comparison trap, navigating challenging circumstances. And so it's not really a how-to book. There's some awesome homeschool books that are more geared towards that. The how to in this is just more through the form of how I think many of us learn best is
Yeah.
stories from others. And so to me, I think personally, one of the chapters that stood out to me the most was that avoiding the comparison trap. And what does that look like? Because
Yeah.
we think on the surface comparison, okay, is that comparing ourselves to other moms? Is that comparing our kids to each other? Is that comparing homeschool to private or traditional school? I mean, can we not, find the end of ways that we can compare ourselves and our homeschool journey and realizing that on the surface comparison for a healthy sake is not
Mhm.
bad. We take inspiration from ideas that we see that are different, or something's working well for someone, or we'd like to perhaps improve in a certain area. That's comparison. I think the unhealthy side of it is when we take that the next step of envy, or
Yeah.
doing so in an unhealthy way. And I'm not sure that any of us, this side of heaven anyway, graduate from that lure of comparison. And so that would, the questions in there at the end of that book are just, they're very helpful and revealing, whether you just read those and answer them yourselves, or journal it, or even better, as you said, discuss as a group. So that's one chapter in particular that really stood out to me. Another would have been the one on speaking truth to yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of incredible letters in there. One even starting out along the lines of, if somebody told you you're not good enough, would that be offending you, in your homeschool journey? And the writer of that letter goes on to say, a couple years ago it would have for me, but I've realized it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And those of us that are believers, there's something so freeing about that, of speaking the truth to ourselves that we're not good enough,
Yeah.
we're not. And, fortunately we have God to lean on and
Yep.
to guide us and lead us. So, that's one. Another chapter that I really loved, and like I said, there's 15, is the very last chapter, which is navigating unique circumstances.
Yeah.
And these circumstances are maybe not going to be ones that fit all of us. The single mom, the working mom, the military homeschool mom, the homeschooling an only child, all of these different circumstances.
Right.
And what I like about that is it just really increases my compassion level for those who are homeschooling in circumstances that are different than my own. They're
Mm.
facing challenges that are different from me. And as I, go through my life as a homeschool mom and encounter moms of these different situations, single mom, homeschooling only child, working, all of these things, the one letter in there about them is not the end all be all, but it's just a starting point of, taking a peek inside that world and thinking, what would that be like? Who do
Yeah.
I know that may be in that circumstance? And what role do I have in encouraging them, even if I don't completely understand what that's like? So I could go on and on
Yeah.
with each chapter. And the neat thing too is, I know we're busy as homeschool moms. And it's like, here's a 280 whatever page book. And like, when are we going to find time to read that? And I tell moms, okay, the table of contents is organized so well. There's
Yeah.
all 15 chapters there. And then it also tells you what the title of each letter is in there.
Mhm.
And so just look at the table of contents. You can read it through cover to cover if you want, or you can just pick a chapter at a time that you are most interested in
Yep.
and tackle that, and you won't mess up anything. Read
Yep.
the introduction and then start picking a chapter at a time that that really, fits you best in this season.
Yeah, I like that you said that in this season because I feel like this book grows with you as a homeschooler.
Yes.
And there's going to be times when it's going to resonate with you, and then there's going to be times when it doesn't quite resonate with you.
Yes.
And there's just going to be different chapters that are really going to hit you because of where you are at that moment. One of them is your very first one. I loved this because I think, well, first of all, because one of them is your letter, and I thought that was cool. But I liked how they just you start off with qualifying. Are you qualified to do this? Because if there's one thing that a lot of moms hear from a lot of people is, well, I mean, you're not even, you didn't even go to college, or well, but your degree is in this. Why are you homeschooling? Are you qualified to homeschool your kids? I mean, are you qualified to educate? Or if you're pulling your child an educational system and choosing to bring them home and homeschool them, you hear from the school district, well, but you're not a qualified teacher. Or you hear from, if you have a special needs child and you decide, this isn't working for them, I need to bring them home. But what qualifies you to teach a special needs child? Can you talk a little bit about qualifying as a homeschool family, or a homeschool mom, or a homeschool teacher?
Yes. And is there any of us
Oh
who has not
gosh.
asked ourselves that question at some point? What I love,
Every year, I was like, "Can I
true.
do 10th grade? I didn't even take chemistry. Am I qualified to teach chemistry?" Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love is the mom that wrote the letter on to the mom who questions her qualifications. You know what? She was a quote unquote certified teacher.
Yeah.
And she shares her story in the letter about, how she was teaching and her kids were in school. And when they decided to homeschool, she had so many people saying, "Oh, you're going to do great. You are an actual teacher." And she thought, I hope that's true. And she
Yeah.
said, it actually turned out that it wasn't. It was harder for me because
Sure.
it was harder for her because of her training as a teacher. And she goes into all the ways of, and I love the wonderful Christian teachers that we have out there
Thank
in the
God for
world,
them.
and we are thankful for them. We're
Yes.
thankful for them. My oldest didn't start homeschooling until he was in second grade, and had a couple of wonderful kindergarten and first grade teachers in our private Christian school. But just by nature of being a quote unquote teacher does not necessarily make you qualified. And a lot of certified teachers will say it makes it harder because you're having to
Uh-huh.
unlearn a lot of the things that maybe are more applicable to a classroom of 30 children. But what I would say too is that's where homeschool moms come in.
Yeah.
My motto is truly that here's the question: what is the absolute best resource of all time for homeschool moms? And my answer is other homeschool moms.
Absolutely.
Finding those that are a little bit ahead of you in the journey that had those same qualification questions of themselves, and learning from them. Other homeschool moms are our peers. That's who we learn from. And I think also we're so blessed in this time that we live in to have such a plethora of homeschool resources. We're not
Uh-huh.
reinventing the wheel with everything. We have probably more curriculum than we could ever even explore
Yep.
or research. And so being qualified to me, is loving your children, being called to it, and being committed to it. That's
Uh-huh.
being qualified to me. And then filling in all those details with so many of the amazing, rich resources that we have, whether those are video based questions or co ops, or, a resource recommendation to fill a gap, or, honestly, sometimes it's learning something right along with your kids the first time and being that partner for them that they need in that subject. And so you're learning together as you go.
Yeah, I love that. I think the thing that I have to remind myself, I always tell moms this, is that if you can potty train, you can teach a child to read. And that's the truth, because potty training, there's no incentive to that child to potty train. There's none.
Yes.
They're young, they don't understand what you're doing, they don't understand why can't they just continue to wear the diaper and the pull up and there's no incentive to it. But reading, all of a sudden they get older and they start to see their mind starts to move, and see these books and they've got these really great pictures and this must be a good story, and all of a sudden they're wanting to learn. And so there's
Yeah.
incentive there to learn.
Mhm.
And so if you can potty train, you got this.
Absolutely. If
You
you can
got
do
this.
that, and yeah, and I think as moms, most of us are pretty good at researching. If we don't know
Yes.
something, most of us are
That's
pretty
right.
good at being able to figure it out,
That's
especially
right.
when it comes to our kids, a little bit of that mama bear coming out. And so, even with something as reading, as basic as reading, which comes so easily to many
Yeah.
kids, it's like, oh, hearing of a child that was age 3 and they'd read their first novel. And
Yeah.
then have, kids that maybe are getting to be, 10 or 11 and they're still struggling and like,
Yeah.
am I qualified? What am I doing here? That's where those amazing resources come in.
Mhm.
That it doesn't mean you personally have to have all the answers. You just got to know where to research and find
Exactly.
and connect. And those homeschool moms that have been there, done that, they can point you to resources like crazy in your area.
Exactly. Exactly. Community is so important. I want to ask you a question. I would assume you got a lot of letters written to you about from these homeschool moms, and some of them were very vulnerable and open and honest about where they are and what they dealt with and what they struggle with. What was your experience reading through all of those letters and just like hearing those moms being so open and honest?
It was fantastic,
Yeah,
honestly, and really, I ended up with more content than what would even fit in the book.
I'll bet.
Maybe there'll be a part 2 someday, I don't know. But, I did, because I wanted this book to be from a Christian perspective and Christian worldview. When I was seeking out moms to be part of this book, multiple avenues of, trying to find moms from all over who wanted to do it, and I interviewed everyone first, and just because, they don't know me, I don't know them, and just
Yeah.
wanted to make the connection to make sure that this was something that they wanted to do. And it became very clear when I would speak to each of them, of course, over Zoom. I didn't fly to 50 different states to do that. But it became very clear, as we narrow down, like, what is it that you most want to speak to homeschool moms about? And I kind of had a basic list of the topics I wanted to have in there, but one by one, moms would identify either something on my list or something unique to them that just I don't know, I just guess got right to their core, and that's why so many of the letters do seem so connecting and so vulnerable,
Yeah.
because they weren't just assigned a topic, they chose a
Wow.
topic and chose that this was an area where either it was a struggle for them or an area they just felt very passionately about or an area that they have learned a lot through. And so they chose that, and I was reading letters, and, we went through the process of compiling it. I felt like I was getting encouragement myself just
Mm.
through being able to do that. It took us a year to do this project. This was not just hastily put together. This was a year-long project, and so all through the course of that, I can remember times when, my email would come, beep at me, and a mom had, finished her draft or, done a redraft or something like that, and I can remember times sitting at my computer and literally bawling
Oh,
because her words are what my heart needed to hear at that moment. And so to me, I thought this is reflective of what I want this to be for other homeschool moms when they read it. And and it's not all heavy either. Oh my gosh, there's funny things in it.
yeah.
There's lighthearted moments and everything like that. But yeah, the experience for me of just, these letters coming in and reading, it just was tugging at my heart. And also just reiterating something that I already know, and that is that there are amazing homeschool moms everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. You're looking through this book and it's like, Minnesota, Missouri, and then, coast to coast all over. And you read letter after letter and you think, none of these moms are limited to one geographical area. They're
Yeah.
all over.
Yeah.
And that's what's so encouraging to me. of just knowing that and knowing, wherever a mom is, sometimes it does take a little bit more effort, or
Yeah.
sometimes there's those of us who are a little bit more rural or, have more challenges making the connections. But what a gift it is to make those connections with fellow moms and to just be able to allow them to breathe life into you.
Yeah.
And for moms to realize too, regardless of where they're at in the journey, if they're just starting or they're at the beginning, they don't have to have all the answers to be able to be that encouragement to somebody else. None of us have it all figured out, really.
Yeah.
But I just, I want moms as they read the letters to see themselves in so much of that and to realize, you know what, regardless of how long they've been homeschooling, they themselves could write a letter. They could write a letter,
Yeah.
and it would be such an encouragement to someone else. And not that it has to be in letter form, but it's just the idea of, um, be part of this encouraging movement of moms linking arms and doing this homeschool journey together.
I love that. So you are one of the things that I love about this book, and not well, as if there's a lot, but this is a big one, and we talked about this before the podcast. You are donating the proceeds from this book. You are not actually benefiting financially from this book. The proceeds from this book are going to the Homeschool Legal Defense Association's Compassion Grant. Now, there are a lot of people who don't know what that is. So could you tell us a little bit about the Compassion Grant from HSLDA?
Yeah, I honestly first learned about it in the process of writing this book, because about halfway through writing, I just thought, myself and the moms who have contributed to this book, we are not doing this because we want any gain at all. We're doing this because we want this to be a win for homeschool moms. And so we thought, well, what if there was also a win for homeschool moms on any profit that this book ever generates over the course of its life, which I hope is many, many years.
Yeah.
Um, Not just a percentage, but 100%. And so I came across the HSLDA's Compassion Grant, which, of course, newer moms to homeschooling. HSLDA is Homeschool Legal Defense Association. They're a wonderful organization. You can look them
Yes.
up. If you've been homeschooling any amount of time, you already know that. But they do have a compassion grant that they administer, and they've been doing this for years. And families can apply for it to help them offset some of the cost of homeschooling if they have experienced, an unexpected financial hardship or particularly difficult circumstances. Sometimes, spouse unexpectedly passes away, or there's a natural disaster, or a multitude of
Mhm.
things. And
Prolonged
so
sickness of some sort or losing a job.
absolutely. Absolutely. And
Mhm.
so that's where HSLDA Compassion Grant steps in, and they do such a wonderful job of vetting and administering the program, to be able to release these funds to
Yeah.
families who need it most. And I just could not think of a better way to use the funds than to partner with them by, every quarter, whatever the profits have been from the book goes directly to them. And interestingly, as I have traveled around, and I do speak at some homeschool conventions here and there, and as I traveled around and, shared the book in person different ways, I have had a couple of moms come up to my booth and they'll just whisper to me in the side. They're like, I got a compassion grant in the past. And of course, we're just new to this. We're just
Yeah.
now this book was written in October. We're just starting the process of giving, but it's just such an encouragement to me of like I'll literally be standing face to face and looking eye to eye with someone with tears in their eyes
Yeah.
telling me that it was that grant to the organization where we're giving that enabled them to continue to homeschool during a really difficult season. And talk about motivating and encouraging and affirming that this is absolutely, where God wanted any proceeds to go. And I'm thrilled about it.
So good. So, one last question. For moms who are listening today who need some big encouragement, what would you leave them with?
Mm. It's such a big question,
I
right?
know,
Because
there's so
during
much.
di different seasons, our
Yeah.
need for encouragement looks different, doesn't
Yeah.
it? And to me, I would just say, um, find your group, I mean, the whole essence of the book, Dear Homeschool Mom, is just really recognizing that value of homeschool moms in your life. Ask the Lord to direct you to who that would be in your area,
Mhm.
even if that's just one or two families, because um, I don't think we're meant to do this journey alone.
No.
And there's just something about stepping out, a little bit of vulnerability and making those connections, sometimes even when we don't feel like it, because we need that. And you know what? On the other side of that, the people we interact with, they probably need us
Yeah.
too. And I want homeschool moms to always realize and never minimize what a wealth of wisdom and resource and encouragement they are. There's a lot of, big name, resources and books and, all of these things, and they're great. So many of them have influenced my journey a ton. But what has influenced my homeschool journey the most has been locking arms with fellow homeschool moms that are in
Mhm.
my life, in my area, in my community, and
Yeah.
doing life with them, balancing being a giver and also a receiver during those
Yeah.
times when we need to really have our tank filled.
Yeah. So good. Community is super, super important, and none of us ever has to do it alone, ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, Annette, I have just enjoyed talking to you so much. Thank you so much for being with us today and taking time out of your busy life in the summer to come and talk to us. And I just want to encourage our listeners. Thank you guys so much for being here. Dear Homeschool Mom, get it. If you're looking for something to give a friend who is struggling, or I don't know, think about maybe buy one for yourself, and then who can you bless one with one?
Mhm.
Somebody who's thinking about homeschooling, somebody who's new to homeschooling, somebody who's just been struggling this year. That's something that would encourage them. And not only then are you giving that, but you're also giving twice because you're giving to the HSLDA Compassion Grant, and that allows families who are going through a difficult time to be able to continue homeschooling. And that's super, super important. So I just want to thank you guys for being with us today. As always, if you guys like this episode, share it with somebody. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, because we sure do love it when you guys don't miss an episode, because we got some great stuff coming out. So every Monday and Thursday. So, anyways, thanks guys so much for coming, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, Annette.
Bye. Thank you.